Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Naresh Mago and with me is Reshma Tiwari with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses Natural Farming Conclave at Surat in Gujarat through video conferencing. Says villages can not only bring the change but can also lead the change. Prime Minister also addresses birth centenary celebration of Swami Atmasthanand, says saint tradition of India has always been proclaiming Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to step down on 13th July. Protesters storm official residences of President and set Prime Minister's house on fire. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says India will provide all possible help and support to Sri Lanka to tide over current economic crisis. Amarnath Yatra temporarily suspended. Rescue efforts are in full swing by multiple agencies to trace missing people. Festival of Sacrifice, Eid-ul-Azha, being celebrated with religious fervour across the country. In cricket, third and final T20 international of three-match series between India and England to be played in Nottingham this evening. And in Wimbledon tennis, top seed Novak Djokovic to take on Nick Kyrgios in men's singles title clash. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said our villages have shown that villages can not only bring change but can also lead change. He said that the extraordinary success of the Digital India mission is also the country's answer to those who used to say that bringing change in villages is not easy. The Prime Minister was addressing the Natural Farming Conclave held at Surat in Gujarat through video conferencing today.
जब बड़े से बड़ा काम जन भागीदारी ताकत से होता है तो इसकी सफलता खुद देश के लोग सुनिश्चित करते हैं। जल जीवन मिशन का उदाहरण हमारे सामने है। स्वच्छ भारत जैसा इतना बड़ा अभियान जिसकी तारीफ आज सभी वैश्विक संस्थाएं भी कर रही हैं, उसकी सफलता का भी बड़ा श्रेय हमारे गांवों को है। इसी तरह डिजिटल इंडिया मिशन की असाधारण सफलता भी उन लोगों को देश का जवाब है जो कहते थे गांव में बदलाव लाना आसान नहीं है। ये मन बना लिया था लोगों ने, वे गांव में तो ऐसे ही जीना है, ऐसे ही गुजारा करना है। हमारे गांवों ने दिखा दिया है कि गांव न केवल बदलाव ला सकते हैं बल्कि बदलाव का नेतृत्व भी कर सकते हैं।
Mr. Modi said India has been an agriculture-based country by nature and culture. He said our life, our health and our society are the basis of our agriculture system. Therefore, the progress of farmers and agriculture is necessary for the progress of our country.
प्राकृतिक खेती व्यक्तिगत खुशहाली का रास्ता तो खोलती ही है। ये सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामय इस भावना को भी साकार करते। साथियों, आज पूरी दुनिया सस्टेनेबल लाइफस्टाइल की बात कर रही है, शुद्ध खान पान की बात कर रही है। एक ऐसा क्षेत्र है जिसमें भारत के पास हजारों सालों का ज्ञान और अनुभव है। हमने सदियों तक इस दिशा में विश्व का नेतृत्व किया है। इसलिए आज हमारे पास अवसर है कि हम प्राकृतिक खेती जैसे अभियानों में आगे आकर कृषि से जुड़ी वैश्विक संभावनाओं का काम सभी तक लाभ पहुंचाएं।
Mr. Modi said that when we do natural farming, we also serve Mother Earth and protect the quality of the soil and its productivity.
जब आप प्राकृतिक खेती करते हैं तो आप धरती माता की सेवा करते हैं। मिट्टी की क्वालिटी, जमीनी तबीयत, उसकी उत्पादकता की रक्षा करते हैं। जब आप प्राकृतिक खेती करते हैं तो आप प्रकृति और पर्यावरण की सेवा भी करते हैं। जब आप प्राकृतिक खेती से जुड़ते हैं तो आपको सहज रूप से गौ माता की सेवा का सौभाग्य भी मिल जाता है, जीव सेवा का आशीर्वाद भी मिलता है।
The Prime Minister said the farmers are serving nature and the environment by doing natural farming. The farmers will also get the privilege of serving Gaumata by natural farming. He said that the country has started working on many such goals to mark 75 years of independence, which will become the basis for major changes in the times to come.
अमृत काल में देश की गति प्रगति का आधार सबका प्रयास की वो भावना है जो हमारी इस विकास यात्रा का नेतृत्व कर रही है। विशेष रूप से गांव, गरीब और किसान के लिए जो भी काम हो रहे हैं उनका नेतृत्व भी देशवासियों और ग्राम पंचायतों को दिया गया है। मैं गुजरात में प्राकृतिक खेती के इस मिशन को लगातार करीब से देख रहा हूं।
The Prime Minister congratulated the farmers for adopting natural farming and the sarpanches of the villages for taking the lead in this direction. Farmers from different villages, along with other agriculture bodies, have joined this natural farming conclave. The conclave will also discuss how to leverage natural farming to boost agriculture and farmer welfare. AIR correspondent reports that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had exhorted at least 75 farmers in each village to adopt natural way of farming in his address at Gujarat Panchayat Mahasammelan in March this year. Guided by this vision of the Prime Minister as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Surat district undertook a concerted and coordinated effort to sensitize and motivate different stakeholders and institutions like farmer groups, elected representatives, cooperatives and banks to help farmers in adoption of natural farming. Consequently, at least 75 farmers were identified in each Gram Panchayat and were motivated and trained to undertake natural farming. The farmers were trained in 90 different clusters, resulting in training of more than 41,000 farmers across the district.
The Prime Minister today said, the meaning of sannyas is to work for the society by rising above oneself and to live for the sake of society. He said that be it Adi Shankaracharya or Swami Vivekanand, the saint tradition of India has always been proclaiming Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was addressing the birth centenary celebration of Swami Atmasthanand via video message today. Mr. Modi paid his tributes to Swami Atmasthanand by reminiscing the time spent with him. He expressed happiness over the release of photobiography and documentary to take Swami Atmasthanand's mission to the masses. He congratulated the President of Ramakrishna Mission, Swami Smarananand Maharaj, for this work. Mr. Modi highlighted that the ideals of Ramakrishna Mission are to work in mission mode, to create new institutions and to strengthen the institutions. The Prime Minister remarked that wherever there are such saints, the centers of service to humanity come up on its own.
स्वामी रामकृष्ण परमहंस एक ऐसे संत थे जिन्होंने मां काली का स्पष्ट साक्षात्कार किया था, जिन्होंने मां काली के चरणों में अपना सर्वस्व समर्पित कर दिया था। वो कहते थे, ये संपूर्ण जगत, ये चराचर, सब कुछ मां की चेतना से व्याप्त है। यही चेतना बंगाल की काली पूजा में दिखती है। यही चेतना बंगाल और पूरे भारत की आस्था में दिखती है।
The Prime Minister said that 75 Amrit Sarovars are being made in every district as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. He urged everyone to inspire people and also join in the noble work of human service. He hoped that the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav will be successful in awakening the sense of duty in the people of the country. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has announced he will step down after protesters stormed his official residence and set the Prime Minister's house on fire last night. The Prime Minister and the President were not present in the buildings. Lakhs of people descended in the capital Colombo, calling for Rajapaksa to resign after months of protests over economic mismanagement. Mr. Rajapaksa will step down on the 13th of July. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe has also agreed to resign. Parliamentary Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardena said the President decided to step down to ensure a peaceful handover of power. He had requested the public to respect the law and maintain peace. Sri Lanka is suffering from rampant inflation and is struggling to import food, fuel and medicine as it faces its worst economic crisis in 70 years. The country has also run out of foreign currency and had to impose a ban on sales of petrol and diesel for private vehicles.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar today said that India will provide all possible help and support to Sri Lanka to tide over the current economic crisis in the island nation. He said both India and Sri Lanka share warm bilateral relations. The minister was speaking to media in Thiruvananthapuram today on his arrival for a 3-day visit to Kerala. Mr. Jaishankar will meet BJP workers in the state capital this afternoon. Tomorrow, the External Affairs Minister will interact with the beneficiaries of various central schemes and visit the Sri Narayana Gurukulam at Chemparante. On Tuesday, he will participate in a function held at Venganur in connection with the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday announced the sacking of Ukraine's ambassadors to Germany, India, the Czech Republic, Norway and Hungary. It was not immediately clear if the envoys would be assigned new positions, and no reason was assigned for the move. Kyiv and Berlin are currently at odds over a German-made turbine undergoing maintenance in Canada. Germany wants Ottawa to return the turbine to Russian natural gas giant Gazprom to pump gas to Europe. Home Minister Amit Shah has said India is moving towards achieving 100% results on issues that require building a national consensus. Speaking at the 30th Northern Zonal Council meeting in Jaipur, Mr. Shah emphasized that all stakeholders should come together to establish a strong cooperative mechanism for development, for which purpose the regional councils were created. The minister was cited as saying in a statement issued by the Home Ministry that although the role of the Zonal Council is advisory, he was happy that in his 3 years of experience, more than 75% of the issues in the Zonal Councils have been resolved by consensus. The meeting was attended by the Chief Ministers of Haryana, Rajasthan and Himachal Pradesh, the Lieutenant Governors of Delhi and Ladakh, besides the Administrator of Chandigarh.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses Natural Farming Conclave at Surat in Gujarat through video conferencing. Says villages can not only bring the change but can also lead the change. Prime Minister also addresses birth centenary celebration of Swami Atmasthanand. Says saint tradition of India has always been proclaiming Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to step down on 13th July. Protesters storm official residences of President and set Prime Minister's house on fire. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says India will provide all possible help and support to Sri Lanka to tide over current economic crisis. Amarnath Yatra temporarily suspended. Rescue efforts are in full swing by multiple agencies to trace missing people. Festival of Sacrifice, Eid ul-Adha being celebrated with religious fervour across the country. In cricket, third and final T20 international of 3-match series between India and England to be played in Nottingham this evening. And in Wimbledon tennis, top seed Novak Djokovic to take on Nick Kyrgios in men's singles title clash. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स की तैयारी करने वाले परीक्षार्थियों के लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो लेकर आया है प्रोग्राम अभ्यास, जिसमें आप अपने सवाल पूछते हैं व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करते हैं abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर, जिसके जवाब आपको मिलते हैं हर शनिवार रात 9:30 बजे। और इस बार का विषय सोशियोलॉजी और आपके सवालों का इंतजार हम करेंगे बुधवार 13 जुलाई तक। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Flash flood triggered by a cloudburst near the holy cave shrine of Sri Amarnath Ji in the Himalayas of Kashmir has swept away many pilgrims, killing at least 16. Search operation continues relentlessly amid fears that many yatris are still trapped under the debris. The yatra has been temporarily suspended from Jammu and from both the tracks of Pahalgam and Baltal in view of the rescue operations at the Holy Cave Shrine, while the district administration Jammu has requested the yatris not to reach the Bhagwati Nagar base camp today and stay at 30 lodging centers set up by the district administration in Jammu city. About 40 people are still missing, while a total of about 65 have been injured after the flash floods and landslides rummaged through tents and community kitchens near the Holy Cave Shrine. Over 110,000 yatris have already paid their obeisance to Lord Shiva at the Holy Cave Shrine till Friday evening. In Manipur, the death toll in Noni district has risen to 50. Till last evening, 50 bodies had been recovered from the site. 18 persons have been injured in the incident and have been hospitalized. Intense search operations are underway to trace another 11 missing persons. The incident took place in the intervening night of 29th and 30th June. Here is more from our Imphal correspondent.
Among 50 dead bodies retrieved from the spot so far, 29 were the personnel of 107 Battalion of Territorial Army. 13 personnel of the same battalion were rescued alive and they are undergoing treatment. The search team have been working to retrieve the 11 missing persons, which includes 6 laborers who took part in the railway project in None district. The body identification has become increasingly difficult due to the tissue deterioration. Around 1,000 personnel have been participating in the search operation and they are using sophisticated equipment to locate missing bodies. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Imphal.
In Telangana, incessant rain for the past 2 days has thrown normal life out of gear at most of the places across the state. The rainwater has inundated low-lying areas, particularly in northern Telangana districts. Several streams and rivulets are in spate due to heavy rains for the past few days in the catchment areas. River Godavari is in spate from Kaleshwaram side, with heavy flood joining it from Pranahita and from Indravati further downstream. Very heavy rains have been lashing Maharashtra and Vidarbha region since yesterday. 5 persons have died so far in various rain-related incidents. In a tragic incident, a truck carrying 5 passengers was swept away in flood waters in Aheri Taluka of Gadchiroli district. According to early information, 3 bodies have been recovered from the truck today and the search operation for remaining 2 is going on vigorously. In another rain-related incident, a senior electrician working in State Electricity Distribution Company was swept away in flood waters in Bhamragarh Taluka of Gadchiroli district. In Amravati district, a cattle grazer was killed in lightning strike yesterday. In the district, due to incessant rain, several villages in Dhamangaon Railway Taluka have lost contact with rest of the district as an important bridge submerged underwater. In Niboli village, water has stormed into many houses. The administration has been keeping a close watch on the situation. The incessant rains have caused heavy damage to the crop in the area.
Under the Catch the Rain campaign of the Ministry of Jal Shakti, a 2-member central team is on a visit to Barmer in Rajasthan to take stock of the water conservation works. The team consists of scientists of the Central Groundwater Board, J.S. Dinesh Kumar and S.S. Saraswat. During the review of water conservation works at various places, the team inquired about rainwater harvesting, drinking water and local geographical conditions. Chief Executive Officer of Zilla Parishad apprised the team about the rainwater harvesting works being done in the district. He said most people in Barmer district collect rainwater in their houses or in the ditches built in the fields. Eid-ul-Azha, the festival of sacrifice, is being celebrated with religious fervor and gaiety in various parts of the country today. The faithfuls offered Eid namaz or prayers in Eidgahs and mosques this morning. Later they exchanged Eid greetings. In Delhi, the main congregations were held at Jama Masjid, Fatehpuri Mosque and Shahi Eidgah. Speaking on the occasion, the imams who led the prayers appealed to people to maintain peace and harmony and celebrate the festival in the spirit of brotherhood. Eid-ul-Azha is celebrated to commemorate the willingness of Hazrat Ibrahim to sacrifice his only son in obedience of God's command. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted people on the occasion of Eid-ul-Azha. He said this festival inspires to work towards furthering the spirit of collective well-being and prosperity for the good of humankind.
In Telangana, despite heavy rain across the state, Muslim faithfuls offered Eid special prayers at Eidgah and masjids and greeted each other. Major congregations were witnessed at historic Eidgahs like Mir Alam and masjids in twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, besides other parts of Telangana. The main event was held at Eidgah Mir Alam, where thousands of worshippers offered special prayers. Imam and Khatib Makkah Masjid Maulana Rizwan Qureshi led the prayers and delivered sermon afterwards. Renowned cleric Maulana Dr. Saifullah and others spoke before the prayers. In Kerala, congregational prayers at mosques and Eidgahs followed by ritual sacrifices marked the occasion. Post-namaz sermons urged the faithful to rise above sectarianism and narrow-mindedness. Kerala Governor Arif Muhammad Khan offered namaz at Cheraman Juma Masjid at Kodungallur in Thrissur district, the oldest mosque in the country and outside the Arab world. Speaking to media persons, the governor said behind the customs and rituals associated with the festival, the spirit is that one should be ready to make personal sacrifices for others for the larger good.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted people on the occasion of Ashadi Ekadashi. Mr. Modi also shared a video from an earlier Man Ki Baat program where he talked about the Warkari tradition and the divinity of Pandharpur.
भगवान भी समाज के हर वर्ग और व्यक्ति के साथ चलते हैं। ऐसे ही हमारे देश में जितनी भी यात्राएं होती हैं, सब में गरीब, अमीर, ऊंच, नीच ऐसे कोई भेदभाव नजर नहीं आते हैं। सारे भेदभाव से ऊपर उठकर यात्रा ही सर्वोपरि होती है। जैसे कि महाराष्ट्र में पंढरपुर की यात्रा के बारे में आपने जरूर सुना होगा। पंढरपुर की यात्रा में कोई भी न बड़ा होता है न छोटा होता है, हर कोई वारकरी होता है, भगवान विठल का सेवक होता है।
The Prime Minister also shared the video of his speech in Dehu where he inaugurated a temple devoted to Sant Tukaram a few weeks ago. As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events is being organized by the government as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion, All India Radio News brings its listeners Amrit Mahotsav quiz, a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with the listeners in the morning bulletin tomorrow. Celebrate India's Amrit Mahotsav by participating in the quiz. And now, let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
On the 10th of July 1806, the Vellore Revolution started against the British Raj. It was the first instance of a large-scale and violent uprising by Indian sepoys against the East India Company.
After Tipu Sultan was killed on May the 4th, 1799, during the siege of Srirangapatnam, the British troops took over the kingdom of Mysore. The British handed Mysore over to the Wadeyars, the former rulers of Mysore, and Tipu's children and their families were exiled to Vellore. However, this strategy soon came back to haunt them.
Tipu's children, their families, and innumerable servants formed a community of Mysoreans in exile, which numbered up to 3,000 and split over a considerable area around Vellore. Tipu's family soon began conspiring to avenge the death of their father and leader.
On November the 14th, 1805,
6 years after the bloody battle at Srirangapatnam, an order was issued by J.F. Craddock, Commander-in-Chief of the British troops, detailing the new military dress code. According to the order, the sepoys had to dress in a uniform and shave their facial hair, and were forced to wear a leather turban that had a cockade made from a cow hide. Though the order was passed to establish uniformity, the Hindu sepoys objected to wearing leather headgear.
Manida, manida, ini vizhigal sivandal ulagam vidiyum. Vizhiyil valiyum udiram muzhudum ini saridam ezhudum. Asayum kodigal uyarum uyarum nilavin mudugai urasum.
When 21 sepoys from the 2nd Battalion, 4th Regiment, expressed their resentment, they were subjected to corporal punishment and faced public lashing at Fort St. George in Madras. On the morning of the 10th of July 1806, the sepoys attacked Vellore Fort. A massacre followed, in which more than 100 British soldiers were killed, many of them shot while they slept.
The British flag was lowered by the sepoys, and Tipu's flag, given to them by Tipu's fourth son, Moizuddin, was hoisted. When a British cavalry regiment from Arcot reached the fort, it was already in possession of the activists. Soon, though most of them were killed by the British forces, and the rebellion was crushed.
Though the Vellore Mutiny is often overshadowed by the events of 1857, its effects were felt in Britain. The officers deployed at the fort were questioned about their intentions of introducing the changes that resulted in the uprising. We also remember independence activist Rahman Khan, a resident of Satara, Maharashtra. Khan was initially in the English East India Company army, but left it to join the struggle for freedom from foreign rule during the uprising of 1857. He fought the British on several occasions in Satara until he was caught by the company troops in the thick of a combat.
Khan was put on trial for desertion and mutiny and sentenced to be transported for life with hard labor and irons. Rahman Khan died in custody on the 10th of July 1859 in the Andaman Islands. AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In cricket, the third and final T20 international of the three-match series between India and England will be played at Trent Bridge, Nottingham today. The match will begin at 7 p.m. Indian time. India have already taken an unassailable 2-0 lead in the series. They defeated hosts by 49 runs in the second T20 international at Edgbaston in Birmingham yesterday. In reply, England's top order was blotted out for the second successive game, losing wickets in regular intervals. They were bowled out for 121 in 17 overs.
In Wimbledon tennis, top seed Novak Djokovic will be looking to make history when he takes on Australia's Nick Kyrgios in the men's singles final in London today. The 35-year-old Serbian is aiming to capture a 7th Wimbledon crown and 21st major title as he aims to close the gap on 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal. In women's singles, 17th seed Elena Rybakina of Kazakhstan clinched the women's singles title yesterday. She defeated 3rd seed Ons Jabeur of Tunisia in the final 3-6, 6-2, 6-2. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses Natural Farming Conclave at Surat in Gujarat through video conferencing. Says villages can not only bring change but can also lead change. Prime Minister also addresses birth centenary celebration of Swami Atmasthanand. Says saint tradition of India has always been proclaiming Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to step down on 13th July. Protesters storm official residences of President and set Prime Minister's house on fire. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says India will provide all possible help and support to Sri Lanka to tide over current economic crisis. Amarnath Yatra temporarily suspended. Rescue efforts are in full swing by multiple agencies to trace missing people. Festival of Sacrifice Eid-ul-Azha being celebrated with religious fervor across the country. In cricket, third and final T20 international three-match series between India and England to be played in Nottingham this evening, and in Wimbledon, top seed Novak Djokovic to take on Nick Kyrgios in men's singles title clash. And with that, we end the midday news.